Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to That 1870s Homestead. My name's Rachel, and today, oddly enough, I've never brought to you one of the simplest canning recipes you can do, and it's what I'm doing today, so I thought I'd share it with you and kind of my process to kind of beat the system and get around from having to have a bunch of equipment or use a bunch of tools, and that's just to make your basic tomato sauce from your harvested tomatoes this year. So what I did was, when I harvest my tomatoes, I rarely do canning during the harvest season. I will harvest them sometimes, core them, make a little slit at the bottom of the tomato, and then freeze them. And what I've been doing is peeling then those thawed frozen tomatoes. So I got these out last night and they sat in the sink cooling. And look how much water is in there. But I'm going to show you how easy the skins just slip right off those suckers, just like if you followed the process in the book where they tell you to blanch the tomatoes to get the skins to slip off. You don't have to do that. Quick little hack, just throw them in your freezer, and when you're ready to have a canning day, they just fall right off. It's so nice. And I love doing it that way. So that's hack number one. And then hack number two is if you're not, say you're dumping the whole Ziploc bag in, and I used to do this myself. And sometimes I still will, like if it's things for spaghetti sauce, I'll keep the extra tomato liquid. But here's one bag, for example. That's all the pretty much just tomato water that would require you to cook down that tomato sauce for a really long time if you put that in there to condense all that water out. So I don't do that. I just pull up my tomatoes out of the bag, kind of let them hang over the bag while I'm slipping the skins to let any additional water content fall out of the tomato, and then I put it in my pot. And there's one more step, but I'm not there yet. Hold on just a second. One more step regarding getting the water, as much water out at the initial beginning stages of the process. And this goes pretty quick. It's not something that's going to take you all day long to do. You know, I'll tell you in my soup pot that I'm using, I can usually fit 4 to 5 Ziploc bags of tomatoes in there. So if you're wanting a frame of reference, how much that can fill, or how many Ziploc bags will fit in a pot before you get them all out and thaw them, if you've already done this step. And then if I'm doing like my big roasting quart, about 15 bags go in that. So I'm going to just wrap up this last bag. We'll tally up the water that was left behind. And I'll show you then my last little secret. Okay, I think that's it. Now, last secret is see how much, let me put this up, how much water there is. I'm going to pour that off. And it's going to get tricky here in a little bit. I'm sure I could get a colander, but I'm trying, my method to my madness is always less dishes. So if I can do this without dirtying yet another dish, I will. So I kind of just hold it. And you need some water content because you do want to cook it for a little bit and you don't want your tomatoes to burn. Okay, let's see. And then I'll go through, squish them, let any more water out. I think that's pretty good. Now you're going to see I have a lot of seeds in here, right? Stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to get those seeds out quite easily. Okay, but we said we were going to add up this water content to see how much time we saved ourselves. So that's right at 4 cups. I'm going to go ahead and pour off each one. 4, 6, meaning total 6. There was 2 cups in that one. Whoops. Another 4, so 10 cups. 10 cups, another 2, 12 cups. And another 3, so about 15 cups of liquid. We saved ourselves that time to evaporate that much liquid out of this tomato sauce. So pretty good deal. All my peels now, if you are new to canning or preserving foods, I still have like 3 quarts, so I don't need to do it this year. I'll just compost these with the chickens. But you can dehydrate those and make your own tomato powder. And that's good just to add to soups and stews as a thickener. Pasta, it's great in pasta, just for some additional thickening tomato flavoring. So I'm going to take this pot now over to the stove, and you guys are going to come with me. Okay, we're over at the stove, and what we're going to do is we're just going to bring this up to boil, and then I'm going to cut it down, and I'm going to puree it very carefully. I don't need to cook this per se so long. What I want to do is puree it with my immersion blender and see how long I need to cook this down if there's like too much water content that I can't see. I think it's going to be close the way it is, but we'll take a peek at it then. And then that also allows me to check for any skins I might have missed. And then I'm going to show you guys my quick and simple way to remove, I would say like 90% of these seeds without you getting out the big Victoro strainer and de-seeder and all that, and it works really well for me. Did you guys hear that boiling back there? It is, and this is a jar that I did maybe 3 days ago, and I just wanted to show you how very few seeds are in there. I mean, there are some, but not a ton. And I honestly am a person that doesn't mind seeds in my, don't mind seeds in my pasta sauces and stuff, but when it's tomato sauce, I try to get most of them out. And hopefully you guys can tell how thick it is. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but no water content, just thick tomato sauce. You know how sometimes if you're new to canning and you're canning tomato sauce or spaghetti sauce or something like that, and you have a lot of water sitting at the bottom of your jar, it's just because there's a lot of water content still in the product. So now we're back over here at the stove. Things got to boil. So I'm gonna turn on my immersion blender. Hopefully Todd gives you guys some happy music so you don't have to listen to this, and we're gonna blend away. Okay, so I just got done. Are any of you out there soap makers? So what I look for is, can I trace my tomato sauce? Are you guys seeing that? And does it fill up with water? So sometimes you can trace it, but then there's a big pool of water. So I'm seeing a pool of water right there. Not too much, but there is a little pool of water there. So I'm probably just gonna let this simmer, like medium low, and for maybe 30 minutes, just to cook out a little bit of that water. But trace is the first thing I personally look for the consistency of my tomato sauce. So see how it's staying on the top like that? Staying on the top really nicely. That's some thick tomato sauce. And that is like just bringing the tomatoes up to boil, not doing anything else. So I'm just gonna let it go 30 seconds or so to get a little bit of that water content out, and then we're going to be ready to get those seeds out. Alrighty, I think we're good to go. So what I have is just a quart bowl of some kind, and I have one of those old-fashioned Tupperware colanders. I use a colander that has smaller size holes. I'd prefer something even a little smaller, but a sieve would make it take a little too long. So I go in with a few scoops of tomato sauce with a ladle, and then I just use the back of the ladle and run it around. And hopefully you guys can see. And the sauce goes down, and most of the seeds stay up. I'll show you the sieve when it's done. Kind of very similar to how an old-fashioned food mill, hand crank food mill works. But I don't have to get out that big, heavy equipment or little equipment. So, 1 second. Why don't I just bring you guys over here? Okay, so come down. Okay, so seeds. Can you guys see those? A little bit of sauce in there, but I'm not too worried about that. And sauce works pretty darn good. And oops, okay, stay. Okay, and then I just have a little bowl here, and I'll do this batch of seeds like one last time before I'm done. And it goes pretty fast. I've tried to get frisky and overload my colander with like heaping up, and it doesn't go any faster. It kind of, if anything, that many seeds kind of clogs up the colander. So I just stick with 3 scoops at a time, and it goes pretty fast. Now, let's talk tomatoes. So you guys probably saw at the beginning, I had all the variety of tomatoes, right? Everything from big beef steaks to more paste style tomatoes, even cherry tomatoes. And I say this in every tomato video I do, whether it's starting seeds or canning. Variety makes a ton of difference when you're making products with your tomatoes. So if you're just growing Romas, you're only ever going to get that Roma flavor. But if you're growing, say, Romas and Cherokee Purples and some Dr. Witchies or Kellogg's, or I grew Amanas this year, and some of your just old standard, Boxcar Willies or Jet Stars, you get all those different flavor profiles to come together and make a really well-balanced tomato sauce. So that's my other tip, is don't just stick to Romas because they say that that's the saucing tomato. There's, you're missing out. And you're gonna find, like, what was it, last year I grew, or 2 years ago, I grew one and I said never again because it had just way too many seeds. And it really had a bitter taste when it came to saucing. So I said I won't grow that one again because I didn't like it for sauce. What was it? I remember it was kind of purple and green tie-dye looking, and my mind's slipping on what it was. Maybe one day you guys will remember. So I've got this almost filled up, and then I'm just going to pour it off in my quart jars. And then we're going to steam can this. So tomato sauce, you can water bath or steam can. You don't have to pressure pan it. So I got my steam canner out and filled up with water. And when I get closer, I'll turn that on and start warming up that water. Now, after I have strained all that, I've been filling my quart jars. And we're aiming for a 1/2 inch of headspace. And the last time I did the 5 bags, which was the example I showed you, I got 3.5 quarts, but this batch is looking like I might get right at 4 quarts. And it all just depends on the variety and makeup of the tomatoes and how many you had in a bag. I think we're going to get 4. So let me pull up a jar just so you can see. You know, on this side, I can see like 3 tomato seeds. On this side, maybe 5. So it's not, you know, 100% perfect. Don't get me wrong. But that many seeds is not going to affect the flavor of your sauce. Now at this stage, let me give you some free rein here. You can do a lot of things. I love this idea because I've done it myself many times. Is in this jar, I could put Italian seasonings. In this jar, I could do some Cajun seasonings for Creole. And in the other jar, I could do some Mexican seasonings for chili. And then you can get 3 different meals out of one simple canning recipe. And I have a video on that. We'll try to link it in the description below. But with me being retired now, I'm kind of thinking, can I make my canning a little easier? Because I used to do all of the meal prep in my canning. And when you have so much canning to do, sometimes those long canning days can really wear on you. And I was never really just an ingredient canner. I canned meal ideas, you know, whether it was chili sauce or spaghetti sauce or Cajun sauce, you know, my Creole sauce or Sloppy Joe mix, all those kinds of things. And if I can just can tomato sauce now, because I'm going to have time to start from scratch on meals more often. That's what I'm telling myself. I don't know that Rachel wants to be that person, to be honest with you. I think I still like the being busy during the day and grab and go from the pantry. But we're going to see how it goes. And if I find out that's not working for me, I can just pull up these jars. Rue, come on, dude. I can just pull up these jars and make some, you know, a big batch of, say, my spaghetti sauce. Because, you know, that's more, if I find it to be more of a burden anyway. All right, so I just did my last batch from the, you know, last scoop from the pot. So I'm re-dumping all those seeds. And I'm just going to process one more time to see how much I can get out. And I don't know if it'll make sense, but I'm also using the spoon this direction at this point and kind of scraping up at the seeds and like tossing them over on themselves so I'm not pushing all these seeds through. Come on over here. And this is my final pile of seeds. There is some tomato-ness to those still, and I'm okay with that. I mean, it's not that much. All right. Oops, I just accidentally put some seeds in there. Okay. All righty. Fill our 4th quart. Nice. And I think I can top off some of these. Not quite 1/2 inch. So I got right at 4 quarts. Now we're just going to add a tablespoon of lemon juice to each one of these jars and then toss it in the canner. So let me wipe. What I'll do next is I'll just wipe the rims of my jars, put my lids on, rings on, finger tight, and I'll meet you back over at the steam canner. Let me get that turned on. Okay. Alrighty, let's put our jars in our steam canner. And the steam canner is a brand called Fruit Saver, and we just got it on Amazon. And it allows you to use very little water for your canning, so it doesn't take quite as much time for it to, you know, start the clock on your canning time. And we're going to can these for 40 minutes, I believe, once it comes up to my steam pressure gauge, which I'm less than 1,000 feet. So I got to wait for it to get in my green zone, and then I start the clock.